Ho, ho, holy shit. It's almost the holidays. I recorded a fucking Squirrel Radio episode, actually. I called it Ho, ho, ho something. Anyway, on my way to Wellington to see some friends and stopped in Wanganui to have lunch with a friend, and yeah. One of those ding light bulb moments. You know, right now I'm working on the article, Pause for the Cause. It's all about the think, feel, do cycle. And it gets into the meat of that and the way that I write about it. But the way that I write about shit and the way that I talk about shit are actually really different. And I didn't realize I had such a good example of that think, feel, do. And I don't really know how I would put it into words. So I'm just going to talk it out. Talk it out and chuck it up. If people like it, awesome. If they don't, well, I always have fucking fun talking to myself, so here we go. Pertains to the very memorable day, and there's a tarot card that came up for this particular instance, and it was the sun. The day the sun shone on me. And oftentimes, you know, when we think of the sun, it's like our moment in the sun. It's that joy. It's that celebration. But my moment in the sun was, I was a sobbing heap on a park bench. I was a sobbing heap on a park bench, sitting next to someone who I thought things were going to happen with. Or did I? The story is this. I'd been seeing this guy for quite a while. I had a pretty deep connection with him. And I took him to Auckland to see his favorite comedian, because that is exactly the type of shit I do when I'm in a relationship. Surprise trips to see, you know, the people that they like to see and stuff. I love doing that kind of stuff for people. And it was the day after, and we were just kind of hanging out before our flight back, and we were at breakfast, and I was kind of talking about wanting to, you know, how I wouldn't want to ever go back to the States unless I was going back with a partner, or a husband, my husband, and showing them, and how much fun it would be really only to go back to where I was born and where my family still is, and kind of see it through my partner's eyes. And I used to feel this way when I was with my first fiance in the States, and I did take him back to visit my family one year, and also, you know, my partner down in Palm Bay. And showing, you know, taking him back to visit my family and stuff. That's really the only time I would want to go back to the States. I think there's more to that as well, because it's probably because my family has probably given up on me. My sister told me bold-faced and very quickly that she did not think I'd ever be married. So maybe I just want to take a husband back to them to be like, look, I can do it. Which, fuck, that is its own article, that is its own post. People, oh Jesus, that goes down another rabbit hole. Let's rein it back in. So I'm sitting here talking to this guy, and I can't describe the kind of feelings that are happening. I'm getting agitated. I'm getting very agitated because I was talking about something I wanted to do with a future husband. Yet, and there was that hope that this guy would be the guy. There's always that hope, right? You've been with someone for a while, things are going really, really well, and you think, fuck, this could be it. I could be talking about him. Yet the way that he was responding, and his body language and the energy that was coming off of him was, oh, that's nice. That's nice for you that you want to do that. Like, it ain't gonna be him. And I was getting, something down in me was stirring, and I was getting upset. So it started to escalate from there. I started, an old habit. I started picking fights. Because what I was trying to do is tease out of him that it wasn't going to be him. And in that moment, I started hating him. And feeling hopeless. And just, there's just a lot of emotions. And it was really confronting for me. I can't articulate what it was like. I'm sure we can all think of times in our lives where we just started feeling really agitated and really uncomfortable. But what's that thought? What's that underlying thought? So I was aware of the emotions, I was aware of my discomfort and my agitation, and it started to alter the way that I behaved. Started picking fights. I started doing things like walking in front of him. And I actually walked away from him. I started crying like I was upset, and I didn't understand why, because there was a thought. And it's not the first time that whatever that thought was, that I had it, and it was driving unhealthy behaviors. Making me feel uncomfortable and driving unhealthy behaviors. What is that thought? I didn't know. We ended up at a place called Albert Park, which is a place that I've been to before in Auckland, and it's a truly beautiful park. It was a glorious sunny day, and here I was, crying, upset. And that actually gets to back how I thought about this, because my friend that I met for lunch said, have you ever been to Auckland? I think that you would really like Albert Park. And that's the way this works, people. We have the conversations we're supposed to have when we're supposed to have them. In that moment, zip, I just put those fucking puzzle pieces together so that I could do this. So that I could connect the dots. This is think, feel, do in its most practical sense. So I'm upset. Don't know why I'm upset. Well, I do know why I'm upset. I just said it, didn't I? This guy's not the guy. But I want him to be the guy. We're connected. The sex is great. I love hanging out with him. Everything is there. I just fucking took him on this trip. But he's not the guy. He doesn't want to be the guy. Why doesn't he want to be the guy? What's wrong with me? What's going to happen to me? Sitting on this park bench in the sun. And he's sitting next to me. I can feel his energy. He is upset and confused, and he has no idea what's going on. And he's uncomfortable, and he wants to just walk away, but he won't, because he's a good guy. And we both got to get on the plane in a couple of hours. So, what do we do? And I just look at him with my bloodshot, fucking puffy eyes. And I shake my head. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to articulate how I feel. And he looks at me and he says something that blew the lid off, because he spoke the underlying thought that's been there for so long. And I'm getting upset right now. This is how it works, people. This is how spiritual healing works. right now, I am getting tears in my eyes because I know that something significant is happening. I'm unlocking repressed emotions even now, even still. I'm sitting here telling you a healing story and what healing looks like, but even now there is still pain deep down that I still need to heal because it's coming out. This is what spiritual healing looks like, sounds like. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and he speaks it. He speaks the thought. And that thought is very simply, do you think you're running out of time? That's it, folks. I'm crying right now, and I was sobbing on that fucking park bench. Do you know what it's like to be 33 years old and feel like you've missed the boat? My sister's married with kids. All my friends are married with kids. And I am single. What's wrong with me? What's fucking wrong with me? I'm out of time. I missed it. I'm too old. I'll never find someone. This is the thought that's been brewing inside of me for years. I had my first boyfriend at 25. He turned into my first fiance. After only 2.5 years, we broke up. It took me 5 years to heal from that relationship, and then I met the next guy. And we were together for 1.5 years, and then he left me. And now there's this guy. But what it felt like that day was like an infection, like a pimple. Like, you know when you're about to get one of those really deep pimples? Like, it is deep. The infection is deep. You can feel it hurting, but you can tell it's going to take days for it to get to the surface. This is what I'm talking about. This is spiritual healing. Because what that infection is repressed emotions. The thought that I'm too broken to have a healthy relationship was so painful that I couldn't deal with it. I had to shove it down. I had to protect myself by repressing that emotion. But it sat in me like an infection. And that thought that drove so many behaviors. I was in a rush to get married in both of those situations because society tells me I need to be married, to have value, to have worth. I'm only as good as I am marketable, really. And here I am. I'm getting older. I'm running out of time. Who hasn't felt like that? Who out there hasn't stayed in a relationship because they were so terrified of being single when they were older? There's no time. There's no fucking time. It's something I still struggle with, obviously, or I wouldn't be crying right now as I drive down the fucking road. But that day was like that pimple, that infection coming to the surface because I finally, with his help, became aware of the thought that was driving all of my fears that I was never going to find someone. And it's a fear I still have. I'd be lying to myself if I didn't. If I didn't have that fear, I wouldn't be crying right now. It still wouldn't upset me, right? But it is. Look, I'm 34 now. For the first time in my life, I'm giving an honest go to dating. It's interesting. But you gotta have a go. But when that underlying thought is I'm running out of time, and that feeling of I better settle. I better just pick someone. Who cares if they're not perfect? Or just give up. Maybe just hopelessness. Like, fuck it. I'll just be single. There's a lot there, right? So there's a lot of emotions. And on this day, that thought was driving resentment against him because I wanted him to be the guy, and I could feel in him that he did not want to be the guy, or he wasn't sure about being the guy. And I was reacting to that because humans can feel each other's emotions, whether you believe it's true or not. Play with the idea. I'm just going to plant that seed. You can deal with it however you want. Sorry, I don't like to use the word you. It's very accusatory. Experiment. I would encourage us all to experiment with those emotions. And it drove certain behaviors. On this particular day, it drove old behaviors of me wanting to fight. And wanting to force him into loving me. Who knows? Who fucking knows? But that's as good of an example as I could ever give of what it's like. That think, feel, do cycle. Stopping for petrol. And it's a good key tip for me to wrap this up, because I realize that people's attention spans for listening is limited, and I don't want to take my graces. We have a thought that we may or may not be aware of. Gives rise to emotions that we may or may not understand. You can't understand it if you don't know the thought behind it. And then we act on those emotions. The gift of awareness, and this is another blog, not blog, maybe a podcast that I want to do, the present of the present, so stay tuned for that. The gift of awareness is being able to lock those subconscious thoughts so that we can be free to choose, to understand ourselves and our emotions on a deeper level. I'm not running out of time. I'm young and I'm beautiful and I'm smart and I'm funny and I'm all that other fucking shit. And the fact of the matter is that I will meet who I'm supposed to meet when I'm supposed to meet them. Not on my time, but on the timing of the universe, when I'm ready and when I'm healed enough to be able to enjoy the relationship. That was my time in the sun. For me, it was about coming out so that I could be healed in a better way. That particular person ended up breaking up with me the weekend after that happened. Maybe fucking 3 or 4 days after that happened. And I can honestly, hand on heart, say that I'm still fucking mad about that. But at least I know why. This is what it's about, people. It's raw. Get amongst it. Fuck. It lights me up. I know that it makes me kind of weird, but just get amongst it. Become aware of those things. Because as horrible as it may sound, and as horrible as it may sound to hear me crying, like, the relief is, it's worth it. It's worth it.